Hi guys, I'm Alan Kavorka from BeTheClaw.com, and you're watching my 10th anniversary special. It was exactly 10 years ago when I bought my first claw machine, so I wanted to make this video and give you a little history of how this hobby developed for me. As you may already know, I grew up in the former Soviet Union, and back then we only had one type of claw machine. It was very similar to my Lucky Crane. It was a flat style and looked exactly like this. It cost about 15 cents to play, and I know there are some currency discrepancies, and it was a different time frame and everything. But for a rough comparison, it was I'd say it was equivalent of 15 cents, and we had 15-cent coins. So um, we had an arcade, or actually a little park across the street from my house, and there was a little arcade in there. And my parents and my grandparents used to take me out for walks there. So one time I just happened to stroll in there, and I saw a bunch of guys kind of hanging over this machine, and it intrigued me because the other machines were a little bit larger and they were intended for older kids and adults. But this one had, a large glass window in the bottom, so I could easily see what was going on. Believe it or not, one of the top and most common prizes in those machines were cigarettes. So clearly these machines were intended for adults. And but I just kind of stood there and watched them play, and I was very intrigued because I've never seen anything like that before. So the next time when I came back, I asked my mom to give me some coins. So I put in 15 cents, and I won one pack of cigarettes on the first try. So I thought, well, let me try again, and I tried again and won another pack of cigarettes. Same thing on the third try. Uh, I don't think my mom realized exactly how this game works, but I just bent over and opened the prize door and pulled him out, and I think she was rather surprised. Uh, and there was an attendant there. We didn't have change machines, so the attendant had a little coffee cup with a bunch of coins that he would give us change, and he was a little surprised as well because he's not used to seeing kids coming in and playing or even winning in that game. And ever since, it was just one of those things that somehow I got hooked, and I would go back in there every once in a while. And obviously, I didn't win every time, but it was those machines didn't have an adjustable claw. It was very exactly like my Lucky Crane in that the claw would close under its own weight. The power would open it, but then when it went to grab the prize, it would just kind of close on its own without any assistance from its electrical system. So there was no way to adjust it. So the only way that they were able to make the game harder was by keeping prizes too close to each other so that you couldn't reach underneath and other things would interfere. So anytime I would see a prize that was kind of on its own by itself or kind of laying on top of another one, it was a sure sign that I had to play, and in many cases I won. I mean, we even had school field trips where we would go to a park, or um, we didn't actually have field trips dedicated to arcades, but we would go to amusement parks. There was a one nearby, and that would be the only thing that I would want to play. It was a huge part of my childhood. I'm very grateful for my parents that they were willing to entertain that particular hobby by providing some change for me to play. We used to have a small pool table that I would just lay out various prizes, and I would just use my hand to pretend to play at home. We had people coming over, friends, relatives, and I would ask them to pretend that they're pressing buttons, and I would be the claw. So that's kind of where the whole thing came from, um, at least part of it anyway. So 10 years ago, I moved out of my parents' house, and I had an apartment. And one day I walked into a Radio Shack, and I saw these little miniature claw machines, um, and it's been a childhood dream of mine to own a claw machine. And obviously back then I couldn't afford. I didn't even know that you could buy them used, and this little miniature machine was like, I was like a little um, I don't know. It's hard to explain. The first time I saw it, I mean, obviously it's not the real thing, but about as close as I could get to it. So I bought it and I played it at home, and it was a lot of fun. But obviously, it was a cheap little thing, so the novelty kind of wore out pretty quickly. Um, then I found a bunch of them on sale, so I bought, and I noticed that they were selling on eBay for a decent price. So I bought a bunch of them and sold on eBay and made a decent profit. And using that profit, while I was selling these on eBay, when I had the listings, I wanted to see if anybody else was selling them. I By typing in skill crane or claw machine on eBay, I happened to come across the real things. And once again, I was so thrilled that there were a bunch of claw machines listed on eBay, and they were relatively reasonably priced. So since I had my own place at the time, I decided that I had to have it. So in January of 2003, I asked my friend Steven to take a trip to Philadelphia. It's about an hour and a half from where I live. We rented a van, and I just kept my fingers crossed that it would fit. And trust me when I say that, had this machine been any bigger in any dimension, it would not fit. I think we would have been pretty much out of luck, because I'm not really sure what I would have to do. It was an hour and a half away, and there's no way I could have afforded to have it shipped to me. So, we took the day off and drove there and picked it up. It was a very tight fit. We had to move the driver and passenger seats, fold the rest of the seats, and move the driver and passenger seats pretty much as close to the steering wheel, to the front as possible. And we had absolutely no breathing room whatsoever. Couldn't see anything out the back, and it was just it was an interesting experience, as I'm sure my friend Steven would agree. So we brought it home. Actually, I brought it to, and we have a large garage at work, so that's where I had brought it first, and I had it at work for a while I kind of was getting acquainted with it, and then eventually I borrowed my dad's van, and we brought it to my apartment. So prior to that, I was going to say also, I bought several hooks from Home Depot. Actually, it might have been Walmart, and I tied them with a rubber band to make a fake claw, because it was one of those things that I felt like I've outgrown using my own fingers to pretend to be the claw, so I had to come up with a way to create my own. So that was another thing that I just forgot to mention. But anyway, so I had this machine at home. I filled it up with, obviously, as you can tell here, I was very excited. It was one of the most exciting days of my life at the time, and it was definitely I was definitely in heaven. So I put in some little things in there, a little bit of plush and things that were appropriate for the size of the claw. This machine was made in Spain. It was a Sega Sonic model from the mid '80s, and it worked pretty well. It moved a little too fast for my taste, but it was an up and across type of thing, and I had to use quarters or just trip the switch, the coin switch, to add credits. So eventually, I wanted to add a a bill acceptor to it, but I couldn't really figure out how to do that. So what I ended up doing is I bought a change machine, and I took out the bill acceptor part of it, and the portion that stores the coins, and I transplanted that into the machine. So basically, I had an integrated change machine in my crane, so that I would just put in the bills and get the quarters out, and then I would put the quarters into the coin slot to play. That way, I didn't have to constantly carry the coins with me. So that worked out pretty well for a while, and then eventually I kind of got a little bored with it. I wanted to modify it a little bit, started tweaking things with the claw, and somehow one day I had something connected the wrong way or whatever. I'm not really sure what exactly happened there, but it just kind of fried something, and the claw wouldn't work anymore. And it was an older machine. Even though I had a little diagram of its electrical system, I had absolutely no idea how to fix it, and there was really no place I could take it to have it fixed. So I started looking around to buy a new one, um, to upgrade a little bit. So once again, I found another one on eBay, and it was actually a local place, and they delivered it to me. It was a Hollywood crane that was made in U.S. and also mid '80s, if I had to guess. It was a much nicer machine. It was very well built. It was had a metal frame. That one had an adjustable claw. The Sonic crane did have an adjustable claw, but it was just a little harder to do that. Oh, and the old crane I ended up taking apart into pieces and just threw away all the parts and sold some of the electronic mechanical things that were actually still in good shape. A little while later, my wife and I bought a house, and we could not. There was no way I could get it into the basement. It was a little too tall, a little too deep, and I had to sell it because there was no room anywhere else for it. So I listed it on eBay, and I actually sold it for a little more than I paid for it. So it worked out well. It was a nice machine. I was sad to see it go, but it had to do that. After we settled in, I started looking around, and I came across the Lucky Crane that showed in some of the I've shown in some of the previous videos. It reminded me so much of the old machine that I grew up playing that I just had to have it. It was a big nostalgic factor there, and I had to have it. I had it shipped to me, and I actually got two of them. The one, it was basically a deal, kind of like two for the price of one, because the second one wasn't really working entirely, and I basically bought it for parts. A couple of years later, my main machine started acting up, so I ended up swapping some parts around and made it work again, and it was fine for a while. And then it started acting up again. Sometimes it would start moving and then immediately come back to the home position without actually completing the cycle. And it would do that for a while, especially after playing for an extended period of time. So the videos that I've made with that machine were extremely time consuming because half the time it would malfunction. And one day, right around Christmas of 2012, the claw stopped closing entirely, or actually opening. So it would just kind of go down in its closed position and come back up. So I started tinkering with it, trying to swap parts and do some soldering and stuff, and nothing would work. So I had to give up, and I decided to do upgrade a little bit. Since I started BeTheClaw.com several months prior to that, I figured that a lot of my viewers wanted to see a machine the kind of machine that they're more used to playing, the kind of machines that are out there today, so that I have a better opportunity to show some of the tips and tricks that they could use, because my Lucky Crane had the claw that could not be adjusted, so only a certain types of prizes I could put in there and to make it work the way it's intended. Because originally it had a really small claw, so I ended up buying a claw from the Sugarloaf Treasure Shop jewelry crane, so that I could put in some slightly larger items. But a lot of times they were so easy to win that it was just wasn't very much fun. So I started once again looking on eBay, and I happened to find one machine that you saw in the previous video, the Greyhound. It was exactly right behind me here. It is exactly the right size, because any larger it probably wouldn't have fit into my basement. I asked my friend Matt to help me bring it down into my basement, but it actually was delivered to me to the front door by the company that I bought it from, which was the East Coast Coin Op and Amusements in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. I was once again, I was very happy that I was able to find the machine without much uh, searching, because it was nearby, it was exactly the right size, and it was in good shape. This machine is also from the mid 80s, and a lot of them sometimes can be slightly, used and abused. But this one was in perfect shape, so I was very pleased about that. Um, it needed some belts, so I started doing a little research, and I found that the original technician from the Greyhound company, which doesn't exist anymore, the original technician, the son of the owner of Greyhound, the son of the person who designed these cranes, is still in business. Once the company closed, they asked him to continue provide support and service for these machines to this day, and I got in touch with him, and he was very nice. He was very generous, and we talked for a while about cranes and how these things work. I had some questions, and he was gladly answered everything. So I got some replacement belts. Also, there was a little resistor, variable resistor missing on my board that I was able to get from him as well. So one of the main reasons that I bought this machine is that because I knew it was there was plenty of them around, but also that they have a pretty good reputation for being pretty reliable. And now knowing that there is support available for these machines, just kind of an icing on the cake. It's a peace of mind knowing that if something happens, there's a way to get it fixed rather than having to scrap it again and buy a new one. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and that's where we are today. Like I said, I'm BeTheClaw.com came around in August of 2012 when I realized that the videos that I made back in 2007, I made 3 videos with my previous machines, and um, they were pretty popular, got really good feedback. I got a lot of questions and comments, but at the time I didn't really think it was really going anywhere.
Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov. Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov. Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov, and today I'm. Why is this the hardest thing? Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov, and today I'd like to show you a little tutorial on how to play one of these machines. They're known as skill cranes, pickup machines, claw machines, whatever you want to call them. Relax. Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov, and hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov. Hello, I'm Alan Kavorkov, and today I'd like to give you a little tutorial on how to play one of these machines. They're known as skill cranes, pickup machines, claw machines, whatever you want to call them. They can be found in arcades, grocery stores, bowling alleys. They tend to attract little kids because they have all kinds of stuffed animals, other fun toys. Parents tend to think that they're a huge waste of money, but that's not necessarily true.
And plus, I kind of ran out of ideas, so it was just I kind of moved on. But then I realized that when I saw some of the videos that other people have made, including Matt3756, who has enjoyed a very successful career in this, uh, and I decided that I missed doing this, and I wanted to share some more of my experience. So here I am, and I picked, started the site and the Facebook page in August and September, and thanks to all of you, have a pretty decent following, and I'm glad that I can share everything with you. So um, I think this is where I want to end. Thank you very much for letting me share my this history with you and my experiences. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer anything regarding anything from my history, anything from the kind of machines that I had, or whatever you might be curious about. That's I will share. So thanks again, and I will see you next time.